Okay, it's been a little while, but I'm back and we're going to keep moving forward, um, getting through our InDesign test. So, the next thing I want to focus on is this sort of charticle style grid that we have in our example over here. Um, there's a feature in InDesign that actually makes building grids like this pretty easy, and let me explain how that works. We do that by using our rectangular frame tool right over here. It's about a third of the way down in your toolbar. Now, if you select that, and we're going to have a no fill and a black stroke when we draw. So if I do that again over here off the side of the page, if I draw a box or rectangular frame or whatever we're going to call it, um, before I release my mouse, I can use my up and down cursor keys on my keyboard or my up and down arrow keys to add to this grid. If I hit the up key, it adds sort of a row, and if I hit my right arrow key, it will add sort of a column. So, then I can scale that to whatever size I need, and then let go. And when I release that, you can see that I have an evenly distributed grid like that. So that makes building things like this a lot easier. Now, if we have something like this and we need to change the size of the relative parts in here, there's another tool for doing that too, and that's the gap tool. That's the fourth tool down, and is really handy. So what you do is you click on the gap tool, and then maybe the gap tool only works with objects that are on the page. Let's try that. Let's delete this, and we'll try that again with our rectangle frame tool. And so I'm just going to add, oh, no, I'm on the wrong tool, sorry. Rectangle tool, and I'm going to add rows and add some columns to that. And I'm also going to turn off my guides for a minute so we can see what we're doing here. So now we go to the gap tool, and if we hover over a gap in this grid, you can see that it highlights, and we can click and move these spaces or gaps between the cells or rectangles. So this makes it really easy to edit a grid like that. So let's give that a whirl. Another thing in this instance that will make it easier, and I'm going to go out of preview mode, is your use of guides. Now, we don't get into those too much in here, but you'll see that using guides can really be helpful for a lot of different reasons. And in this instance, we're going to be using guides to help sort of recreate the sizes of these cells. So since this lines up pretty much perfectly to what we're trying to recreate, we can just pull down guides and apply them to our layout where we know that those cells are going to need to break. So it's just a matter of going up to your rulers, clicking and dragging down, and getting a guideline. So now we know that if we come up here with our rectangle tool and start in this upper left-hand corner and go down to the lower right-hand corner and use our arrow keys, we can add cells or columns and rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we want. So we have 3 now, 4, 5, 6, and that should be enough for us to start with. So it might make us easier if we could actually see what's inside of those. So for the time being, I'm just going to give them a yellow fill. next we go back to our gap tool and we just start manipulating those gaps to about where we need them to be. Right now, the gap between these cells is a little bit bigger than we'd like, but there's a way around that too. And I'll show that to you in just a second. And for these, I'm just going to kind of eyeball them. And that can probably be a little skinnier over there. And here, we're just going to shoot for somewhere where that looks like that's roughly in the middle there. Okay, so then we've got a rough guide like this. Now there's one third tool I'm going to talk to you about, and that's using the eyedropper tool for selecting colors. I think we touched on this basically in Illustrator, but it works similarly. And then what we can do is sample a color from an image and then just come over here and click and apply that color over here to our grid. If we want to resample a color, we hold the Option key down, and that empties the eyedropper, and we click on that, and then come back and fill that back up. All right, same with our colors up here. Option to pick up a new color, click to place it, Option to pick it up, and click to place it. Now with all of those in place, we would really just have to click on this one guy and get rid of it. And if we go again to our preview mode, you'll see that we have a key line on all of these guys. So we should just be able to select all of those. And for our stroke, select none. And there we go. So we're actually pretty close. The gap in here between these cells is defined by the gutter size in your overall layout. And that's something that can be adjusted. But for the sake of getting through this test, I'm okay with you guys just building off of the default size. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it this time around. And for the next step, we'll worry or work on getting type in these locations. And then I think we just have one more step to fill in the text and images up there, and then we should be getting pretty close to done. So I think that's about it. Thanks again for paying attention.